Welcome back to Ask Sergeant Bart's and part 2 of my ASVAB test series. If you have not hit the subscribe button yet, go ahead and knock that out right now so make sure you get all my updates as they come out. On the first video, we covered the strategy for taking the PiCAT and the ASVAB, right? As you all know, the PiCAT is the ASVAB, just the untimed version. So now what we're going to cover is the PiCAT verification test and the confirmation test for the ASVAB. Some of y'all may not have heard of either one of those. Some of y'all may have heard of them. We're going to cover definitions for each one right now. We're going to start with the PiCAT verification test. This test is exactly what it sounds like. It is to verify your score on the PiCAT. If you took the PiCAT at home, recruiting office, or wherever you happen to take it, you are required to do the verification test. Now, this is something you're going to do because you want to keep the score that you got on the PiCAT. Now, what's very important about this is that you pay attention to what you were doing and what you did in the past. Now, I'm going to give you a simple rule that I give to every one of my applicants before they take any version of the test. Do not try to be smarter or dumber than you already are. It's that simple. The PiCAT verification test is serving two purposes when you take it. The first one is to make sure you didn't cheat. Right? So you may have heard me mention before on the other video that you want to make sure that you are not using Google or a calculator or anything like that when you're answering the questions. The verification test is where they're going to catch you on that. If you use any of those sources to answer your questions, you are cheating. The verification test is going to catch that because now you're being asked to do exactly what you did before. If you don't know what you did before, you're not going to do it and you're not going to pass through the verification process. So the second reason we have the verification test is because we are trying to do exactly what I talked about before. Make sure you're not smarter or dumber than you already are. All right, so this is how it works. What we're trying to do is verify that you understand the processes you use to get to the answers that you got to. And what I mean by this is don't change anything you did before. If you did the math a certain way during the PiCAT, when you get around to taking the verification test, don't change the way you do it. Some people, what they do, they take the PiCAT, they go home, whatever, after the PiCAT's done, they go on to Google, they go on to their calculator, whatever, and they figure out or they learn that, hey, you know what, I did the test wrong, or maybe I did it wrong. Now they change the way that they're doing that math. If you do that when you get to the verification test, now you're going to change up your answers, because here's how the verification test is working. They're giving you approximately 20 questions from the test you already took. They're not going to be the exact same questions, but they're going to be very similar. They're looking to make sure that you can still do the same thing. That's why it's a verification test, verifying your work. You make it through that section, you're going to move on and you'll be just fine. You'll be done in about 20, 30 minutes at the most. Now, it's a little side note for the PiCAT verification test. When you start it, it's going to say you're taking part 1 of 11 sections. Part 1 is the verification test. If you make it through part 1 with no problem, you will not start part 2. Part 2 is the normal part 1 to the full ASVAB. Another thing to remember, 1 in 5 out of the entire country on a given day from all the branches that are taking PiCAT verifications are randomly selected to take the full ASVAB anyway. This is kind of a check on the data. All right, so it's nothing against you. You didn't necessarily do anything wrong. It's just, hey, look, you were randomly selected to take the full ASVAB. It is what it is. Be prepared just in case it happens to you. Review my first video on the test taking strategy and make sure you're ready for it, and you will be just fine. Moving on to the confirmation test. Now, this test has a very similar strategy to the PiCAT verification test. Once again, don't be smarter or dumber than you already are. The point of the confirmation test is you took a test one time, you failed. You took the test a second time, you scored more than 20 points higher. Because there's such a huge point difference, we need to make sure that you weren't just lucky in your answers, or that you didn't cheat in some way. Now, the cheating part of it is kind of gone out the window. All the tests, all the confirmation tests are proctored now. The initial tests are proctored. There's always somebody watching. There's always a way to verify, like the PiCAT verification. So that kind of is not really in play. The other part they're trying to make sure, though, is that you just did not get lucky with the answers. So by giving you the confirmation test, that's how we are doing that. It's annoying. People hate it. Recruiters absolutely hate it, all right? Because there's always a chance that you're going to score lower, you score outside the threshold that's allowed, and you will not confirm. And then you go back to your old score, and you have to wait another 30 days or 6 months, depending on how many times you've taken the test, to take another test. We don't want that to happen. So the confirmation test works the same way as the PiCAT verification test. Do the exact same thing you did before. Don't change anything. If you did the math a certain way on the first test, do it the same way on the confirmation test. Don't change anything. I'm going to say that again. Don't change anything. Do everything the same and you will be just fine. You'll make it through the confirmation. You might have a slight point variance, but that's going to be within the threshold and you will confirm your score and you get to keep the good score that you want to keep. One little extra note for you. I've had this question asked to me before. If you scored one score on the PiCAT and then you end up taking the full ASVAB because you're one of those 1 in 5 that are randomly selected or whatever, and the score you get on the full ASVAB is 20 points higher than what you scored on the PiCAT, you have to take the confirmation test. No, you do not. So don't worry about that. So this video was a relatively short one. I just want to make sure I put everybody at ease about the PiCAT verification and the confirmation test, two of the most stressful versions of the test that you can take when it comes to taking the ASVAB. Once again, if you have not hit the subscription button, please do so. Part 3 of this will be coming out next week, where I will actually break down test scores for you, especially as they apply to the Army. Remember, what I talked about today for the confirmation test, the PiCAT verification test, does apply to any of the branches. We all use the same test, so there you go. If you have any questions about joining the military, joining the Army specifically, because obviously that is my specialty. If you have any questions about the ASVAB, if you have any questions about anything Army related, if you're already in, you just got general questions, shoot in my direction. Send me an email at asksergeantbartz@gmail.com. Make a comment in the comment section of the video, or you can fill out the Google form in the comments below to request that I contact you. As always, give me about 72 hours. I'm not able to respond right away in most cases, but I will get back to you as soon as I can. So until next time, you guys have a great time, and I will see you guys for part 3.